A very good morning to you and welcome to K24 this morning. The best way to have your cup of tea or your ugali if you like having that early in the morning. My name is Mungala Mbuvi and this is K24 this morning. Let's take a look at what is on the newspapers, starting with the People Daily, which, by the way, you can get directly on your phone or your tablet or your computer by dialing star 550 star 4 hash, and you'll get it for only 10 shillings. You will not need any data. You will not need any kind of application to access it. Star 550 star 4 hash, and there you go. Speaking of which, this is what you will find if indeed you dial that number. Why bigwigs may head back to Parliament? A very good question. Is on the front page we'll see Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, Hassan Joho, and Wycliffe Oparanya. And this is what they say on page 4, that with senior positions touted in the Building Bridges initiative pegged on one being an elected member of the National Assembly, ambitious national leaders may soon be trooping to constituencies to start the journey to the top from scratch. Well, that's a conversation definitely worth having. And you can also see to your very right the Deputy President there, and this is the caption, "A tactical retreat or surrender." Full story is on page 3. As a bitter critic of Building Bridges initiative, many thought Ruto would lead the no campaign. However, the DP now says consensus is the way to go, leaving many observers wondering what he has up his sleeves. Well, a good question which we shall definitely discuss today. This sets the precedence and the tone of our conversation going forward. However, still on the People Daily, on the front page, still mourning Diego Maradona, and on pages 12 to 13, it says, "A legend's life was a big paradox." And it goes on to say, Diego Maradona lived the high life but fell with a third. Well, a very interesting way to describe him. It also goes on to say the UN warns of acute shortage in Tigray. Fuel and cash are running out in a region where 6 million people have been sealed off from the rest of Ethiopia. Communication has also been severed. Now, the Ethiopian government had given them 72 hours to surrender their arms. And, you know, the 72 hours elapsed yesterday. So this is a story that is still unfolding, and we shall be on top of it as far as the news bulletins on K24 are concerned. But you can still dial star 550 star 4 hash and get this copy of the Daily Nation. And of course, you will get lots and lots of stories. Moving on to the Daily Nation. BBI splits Ruto camp. Yes or no? That's the question that everyone is asking. And it goes on to say that the Tanga Brigade has won some and lost some in the BBI scheme of things. But the moment of reckoning is here, and opinion is still divided on the position it will take. That story is on page 4. Still on the right, IEBC reforms push not yet over. This is according to ODM leader Raila Odinga. That story, you will find it on page 5. And on to the left, Mike Sonko is there captioned, and it says, "Inside fresh plot to kick out Sonko." The full story is on page 6. This has been going on for a while, and it looks like Sonko's wars are not going to be over anytime soon. A tribute to Diego Maradona on page 46 of your Daily Nation. You can get that on as well. Gambling, the conversation is about the battle for the soul of Sport Pesa getting nasty. Full story is on page 14. There is an individual there crying, as you can see, a father's pain. Man weeps after son's manhood chopped off. Will my son mix with his peers when he comes of age and learns what happened? Will he want to live? This is Shelton Mwamburi as he mourns his wife and a suspect on the run. Okay, story is on page 3. Virus, 17,000 teachers to keep off class. Get your copy of the Daily Nation for more of those stories. Moving on to the Standard newspaper. The front page says, Raila, I was not duped. Point is, ODM leader issues statement to reiterate his position on the referendum bill amid claims that he was kept in the dark about changes on the IEBC, police and the judiciary. He had previously said no changes would be made to the draft bill, shutting the door on rivals pushing for consensus. That story is on page 4. Definitely something that we will be discussing this morning as far as the conversation is concerned. And at the very top there, we can see that Uhuru's 930 billion Kenya shillings pandemic war chest, this is the money that has been allocated for this fight. The government is raising about 925 billion to cushion Kenyans against the effects of the coronavirus. And the money will be invested in sectors that create jobs and start growth to reboot the economy, according to a new Treasury report. Our story is on page 2. Grab your copy for that and much more. And lastly, let's take a look at the Star newspaper. And the front page says, what Raila gave up as Ruto plans to support the BBI. DP has told close allies that most of his issues have been addressed. That story is on page 4 and 5. Well, what issues are they? We'll be talking about that in a minute. And also Diego Maradona being mourned right there. Diego Maradona was special and flawed. A picture there of a woman and a gentleman paying tribute as they wear a jersey adorned with the Maradona name and number. Also, still on COVID matters, Oxford COVID vaccine might reach Kenya in January. That is on the very right side of your newspaper. And also, if you go down south, varsity chiefs ask MPs to approve hiking tuition fees. That story is on page 10. And last but not least, teen left home for fun but ended up in the mortuary. Our story is on page 16. All right. This is where the conversation starts. Do not go anywhere. We shall be asking you to engage with us in a couple of minutes. But welcome to K24 this morning. Helping me have this conversation is none other than Dennis Tumbi, a political risk analyst and expert as well. Welcome to the show, Dennis.
Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure to have you.
I appreciate it.
We also have Daniel Achach, an advocate of the High Court. Karibu tena sana.
Thank you very much.
And joining us via Skype is a political analyst, that is Vivian Tar. Welcome to the show, Vivian. Habari yako?
Salama sana na asante.
All right. Now, I will start with you on this one. And we are talking about the road to the referendum. And the question of the day that we are asking you is, have you actually read this BBI report as a Kenyan? Let us know via our social media pages at K24 TV. And you can also find us on our WhatsApp number. There it is. Have you read the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020? We also know it as the BBI. But right now, it's a bill. Signatures have been collected so far. We don't know how many, but the exercise started on Wednesday. But we shall be keeping up to speed on that one. But Vivian, I was asking you in regards to this situation that we are facing right now. Do you think Kenyans have read and understood the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020, also known as the BBI?
To be honest, I don't think a majority of the population has interacted with the bill.
Yes.
And also, in all honesty, it's not an easy read, for lack of a better word, for a common, person, because it needs you to reference a lot to the Constitution of Kenya 2010 for you to understand what's been amended, what's been deleted, what's been added. So I'd say civic education is necessary for just for the common person to get to understand what are the key things that are changing, what are the key things being amended or being added on in this bill.
Right.
So I appreciate the call for everyone to read and understand the document. But it would take also a little bit of just civic education for people to understand what the bill actually articulates.
Okay, thank you. Dennis, same question. Do you think Kenyans have read and understood this amendment bill?
Thank you very much, and good morning, viewers. I think that the straight answer there will be no, and for various reasons. And number one is because Kenyans are focused on their survival, both from surviving COVID, surviving poverty, and basically the general prevailing circumstances that have been brought up either by COVID or bad governance. And therefore, they feel that the BBI is an unnecessary nuisance that they don't want to engage in. But of course, we have a culture in this country of not reading, especially that which is vital. And also, there is a prevailing circumstance of, I don't like politics. There's the apathy point. And even if you look at cultural voting in this country, it is perhaps at an all-time low. And the government has never been interested in civic education. So, in fact, we can say that the ignorance is state-instituted. That the majority, that the more ignorant they are, perhaps the better there is. Because referendums are run by simple majority.
Right.
A more educated, a more civically knowledgeable populace is a nuisance to a state. that does not understand proper governance. So I believe and I say that it is not right to engage Kenyans in a very technical process when they've never even understood Constitution 2010. When even simple things like the Bill of Rights, whatever it is that there is that is there, constitutionalism must be entrenched through patriotism and civic education. But that is, today, even if you ask some Kenyans to sing the national anthem, it will be a challenge. So I believe that if we love this country,
right,
and if we want the Wanjiko to get involved in this process,
yes,
and for them not to see that this is a process for the politicians only, then I believe that we need to entrench civic education in a way that we build consensus, not editing and auditing a document to make it palatable or generally acceptable when they hate it. So civic education is important, and we need to get it into a language, like what my sister said, a language that is understood.
All right.
And not just a language that is understood. We need to promote a spirit of consensus.
Okay.
Then Kenyans will accept the document, but not just accept because it's top down. Kenyans will own the document like this is our process. It is not a process by the two, by the president and Raila Odinga, that indeed this is something that is going to help one generation after another. And I think you saw the statistics.
Yeah.
The acceptance is at an all-time low, which is 19%. So it means that there's a general disacceptance of this process. And I believe that the work we have is not even to ask Kenyans to read something they hate, is to get them to own this process. If at all, this road is going to be anything other than the value of the shadow of death. If it's going to
be smooth. And Daniel, I'd like to ask your opinion on the same. Do you think that Kenyans, first of all, have read it? And if your answer is no, could it be, again, the issue that has been brought up of language? Because my grandmother will not sit down and read, the report as it is in English or even in Swahili.
Thank you very much, and good morning, viewers. For me, I agree with my colleagues that not so many Kenyans have read the document. And for two reasons. Number one, the paramount reason is that the language, the document, the bill is a legal document.
Right.
And so I think to ask Kenyans to read the document and understand it is perhaps asking too much. Maybe what the question that we should be asking is, have we done enough civic education?
Okay.
For Kenyans even to understand what is a referendum and what is our position in a referendum. Because then the idea behind a referendum, if you look at the way the Constitution is framed, is that Article 1 of the Constitution gives Kenyans the sovereignty, that the sovereign power lies with the people.
Hold on. There's a question of public participation, which involves civic education, and of course for them to contribute towards this document in regards to the amendments that have been proposed.
Yes.
We saw the president and former prime minister going around the country. You want to tell me that people could be clueless? And we're talking about the majority, of course. We saw rallies in Kisumu, in Mombasa, and in Nairobi.
The problem for me is that in Kenya we have a culture of, following what our politicians have said or think about issues, even on issues as important as a constitutional amendment. Because when you're talking of a referendum, and that's why I was referring to Article 1 of the Constitution, which gives the sovereignty to the people and says the sovereign power belongs to the people. And this power can be exercised either directly or through the elected leaders. Therefore, a referendum is one of the ways in which the people exercise the sovereign power directly and not through their elected leaders.
I want to hear Dennis's opinion on the same before we change gears a bit. He's saying about Article 1, the sovereignty of the people, and so on and so forth. Public participation again. We saw rallies in all these places that these people went to. Do you believe that Kenyans could actually be clueless on this particular document? Apart from the things that we've been told, the place for the youth, or tax release and all that?
That's a very important question. The clamor to COK 2010 was a clamor that the people initiated. It was a bottom-up approach. But the BBI is, we saw a private meeting, then we saw a public handshake, and then from there, we saw then the document called BBI, which remained a secret document for a very long time. Then there was a committee that was put in place that came with certain points.
Yes.
Then now, after that, then we suddenly see the push to a referendum. So the entire process has been a top approach that has largely been phantom. Even the bill, the contents have, we don't even know, you're collecting signatures from which, is it BBI 1, BBI 2, or BBI 3, or BBI 4, when the amendments are being included to perhaps make it acceptable, exactly who is editing and who is adding and who is removing, and based on whose whims. So largely, the lack of openness in the entire process has then bred suspicion, and then Kenyans have largely distanced themselves based on that. Now, public participation, it is not the fact that you produce a document in public and then bring it to the wananchi. The word participate means possess. The word participate means we are the generators of this. You understand?
Yes.
The Constitution envisages one principal thing: self-rule. It means that once we want amendments in the Constitution, we will decide which amendments those are. It is not the politicians that decide. So it means that Wanjiku will ratify what she wants, and then that voice then will be put into a legal whatever that he's saying. So I think there's a lot of work that is required, not to rush the process, but to achieve a consensus. And the last thing that we should have in this country is a yes or a no campaign, because the country is fragile. We have COVID, we have poverty, we don't even know whether our kids are surviving or dying in school. NHIF has abandoned us. So we don't need a contest. We need a non-contested referendum. We need our views to be included on board. At the end of the day, we need to unpackage this secret document and say, what is included in here? What does it mean? It's largely,
I can see Daniel is laughing
many
about
Kenyans don't know this thing, including perhaps a lot of the people in this studio. It's a phantom document. It is a secret letter that the contents might shock many. And I believe that the unpackaging of this and the continuous education through civic education for us to reach not a competition, not a yes or a no,
Dennis,
a non-contested referendum.
I want us to talk to Vivian on this one. Vivian, Dennis insists that we need to have a non-contested referendum. But my question would be then, in this case, before the handshake, did Kenyans need an amendment bill, a constitution amendment bill, really? Did we, unless, you know, I'm missing something, did we need this situation that we are in right now?
You know, all these things came into light after the contested election, and just how the entire, everything that happened after the general election and then the repeat presidential election. And of course, just the turmoil, especially economically, that the country was going through. And so, as much as we may not have known that there are certain reforms or changes that were needed, but following the handshake, it was quite clear that there are changes that are required. Reforms, you know, electoral reforms, for example, and not necessarily the reforms that people are talking about that have been left out of the amendment bill right now. Those are not the only electoral reforms that can be looked at, but also several kinds of reforms. And the entire conversation around the handshake, around nation building, around moving, you know, in one unity and one purpose is what brought about several of these items that we are seeing now. I disagree with Ntumbi about
non-contested
the process
consensus
being entirely a political process and being rushed. The thing is, this thing started in 2018.
Right. And
we've gone through 2018, 2019. We are at the tail end of 2020. We had the first process of the BBI that included having opinions and just people participating in their views, giving their views to the task force. Then that followed a validation process that took several months before we finally ended up with the Constitution Amendment Bill. So it's incorrect to try and insinuate that it's only politicians who are giving their views. Even my party leader, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, said not all views must be included. It is okay to give your views, but it doesn't mean that every single view must be included in the document. And he has repeatedly said the BBI is not about him or about His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. It is about the people. It is about Kenya. It is about moving forward and ensuring we have better electoral processes, better governance, better distribution of resources. So yes, we are handling COVID and other health-related issues, but it doesn't mean everything has to come to a standstill and we have to stop doing everything just to handle COVID. We can do these things concurrently. It does not mean that because you have a health crisis, everything in this country must come to a standstill.
We'll get to that part of the conversation shortly, but I'd like to ask Daniel, same question I asked Vivian. Before the handshake, did Kenyans need a BBI report?
I think I want to agree with Vivian that if you look at the content of the report or now the bill, I think most of the provisions that are being proposed are very good provisions, and indeed largely in my view a big improvement to what we have in terms of the Constitution 2010.
Dennis, relax. I'm getting to you.
So for me, we cannot say that the BBI process, the whole process from the handshake to the report and now to the document that we have in the form of a bill is trash. For me, it's actually an improvement on what we have, and there are very good provisions there that address some of the concerns, some of the issues that we've had as a nation. We have, for example, the introduction of what's called the judiciary ombudsman, which has been contentious in the manner it was framed. And so if you look at the document, for me, I would not say that it's a waste of time. I would not say that it is trash, much as there are views that, I mean, there are different views that have been expressed on how maybe it would have been drafted better. Perhaps there are things that have been left out that should have been included. But really, that is the nature of a constitution. You can never have a constitution that is 100% world over. That's why we say a constitution is a living document. It's a document that keeps improving depending on the situations or circumstances.
We'll talk about the contentious, amendments, proposals rather, like the National Police Commission, the Ombudsman, and of course the 70 additional constituencies. But Dennis, before we take a break, did we need a BBI before the handshake? Si tulikuwa tu sawa, ama?
Tulikuwa sawa. And we know we have to be very careful, even though we are lying to the people, not to lie before God. For us to sit in national TV and say that BBI is an improvement to our current constitution, and to also say that not everyone's views can be included. And if we can amend a constitution, why can't we amend a document? At the end of the day. And BBI, by the way, is a clawback. It is a retrogression to Constitution 2010. Why? Because if Vivian is going to sit here and tell us, or sit there, sorry, not here, and say that BBI is bringing improvements into electoral justice, when the recommendations in the BBI are a clawback to electoral justice, when you say that a political party will nominate the referee, and by the way, you looking all the way from the Kliegler report, COK 2010 included issues of electoral injustice the current formation and the current constitution of IBC is then progress that was made from all the way, and the reasons why we fought, they were included. You know, there's a journey that we walked to ensure that the issues that we suffered, even the issues that were in the Ndongola report, that's the reason why we formed the NLC, the National Land Commission, and thereabout. So when you look at COK 2010 and you look at BBI, this is a clawback and an assault. We dealt with the imperial presidency. BBI wants to return us into dictatorship. We dealt with the freedom of judiciary. BBI wants to return us, you know, to a judiciary that is incoherent and a judiciary that is emasculated.
There's another thing. He will tell us if that is true.
You know, but the truth is, let us be honest. Let us not rush the process. If we really need a constitutional amendment in the midst of Kenyans dying and getting sick, if we have become that cold, that irrational, if this country does not have a soul anymore, that we can be burying people and discussing about creating jobs for a few, then we really need to pray to God that we have sunk that low.
Hold on to that thought. We want to take a short break, but as we do that, we are asking you if you have read the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020, popularly known as the BBI. Let us know via 0791084696. What are your thoughts on that one? We will be right back. Do not go too far.